welcome to another episode of Jimmy agrees to fill in for somebody because he's pretty sure he'll be able to feel well enough on the day of the show, but then that never actually happens and he regrets it. I'm Jimmy Snow. I think that's the full name of the show, and I'm joined today by Paul of Paulogia. How are you, Paulogia?
I am better than you. I know that's a low bar, but I'm I'm coming in. I have no complaints in comparison.
I'm going to clip just that phrase. I'm better than you and just lay it on. We all know, Paul. Rub it in. Jeez. Mm-hmm. This is The Hang Up, a show that usually is hosted by Matt Dillahunty, where he talks about whatever he's hung up on, whatever's on his mind. But I wouldn't say that I have anything that I'm too hung up on that would be worth the monologue at the beginning of the show. And Arden didn't ask me if I wanted to do that anyway, and that's her job to figure out. So, I thought she'd say something. She's not.
I made an executive on your behalf. Thank you very much.
You cut out halfway through that.
Yeah, my finger hit the mute button on my mic because, you know.
You also didn't see the windmills I was doing during this because we didn't start 2 minutes early to play the 2-minute intro. And so I was going like this, fast forward through it. We don't have to do this. Come on.
I saw them. If you see the Discord, I said, are you asking me to speed it up? Because I saw some sort of weird hand motion.
I was in there. Too busy. I was too busy doing stupid stuff with the computer.
Calisthenics.
Yeah. This, we're going to talk about whether God exists and stuff. And you know what I'm thinking about? I did some posts on Threads where I asked people for good arguments for why God exists and good arguments for being pro-life. And they all suck. But if we end up getting bored and not getting enough good calls, we'll literally, I'm just going to read the people who should have called in. Cowards, call in, you cowards. Anyway, we've got calls lining up, but the phone number is 720-619-2288, and there's a web link in the description if you want to call in and tell us why you believe in God, if you are pro-choice, because I know what everybody's saying, or pro-life rather. I know what everyone's saying. What we really need is a call-in show where the debate could happen again. Why be pro-life? Why be pro-choice? Hosted by two cis guys. What they were really hoping for is that we men could speak to the topic of abortion more. And so you go ahead and do that if you like. And for some of you fellow autists, that was sarcasm. That was a joke. But we'll still take those calls. But that I do feel I need to declare. /S after all of that. Paul, what do you want to tell the people about before we get started?
I want to tell the people that up here in Canada, we're not having an election, so it's all fine. It's all good.
Have you watched any of the American convention by chance?
I've been watching all the DNC every single night. It's been we live vicariously, but it actually does. I think Barack even mentioned it last night. Like, this election really does affect the rest of the world disproportionately. And and I'm the optimism that I feel coming through from your country gives me some optimism for my country, which is kind of lagging sort of like 8 years behind in your politics. Weirdly, I know we're way ahead. Like, we've had healthcare forever. Like, our most right-wing party we've ever had legalized gay marriage. So, you know, but we've been kind of skewing right a little bit. And so I don't know, I'm optimistic. I thought I teared up the first night. Whenever there's a daddy-daughter moment, I always tear up. So,
oh man, family stuff, but that gets me hard in general. But then sometimes I get a little bitter. I'm like, hey, you know, when you show off how in love you are or how good your family is, those of us who are lonely, never had a good relationship with our family, or need to get laid feel really horrible right now. So that's now. Where do you come down on dick joke gate? Do you think it was a dick joke? Do you know what I'm referring
to? The look down. Come on.
Yes. The look down's what sold it. Yeah.
But the timing
for those
of looking back up and then like not letting everyone revel in the moment is that plausible deniability that was perfect.
For those watching who don't know, Obama during his speech mentions he puts his hands like this, and he's and he's weirdly obsessed with crowd sizes, and then he makes his hands bigger, then he looks down at his hands, brings them small again, and then looks back up at the at the audience. And I think it was a dick joke.
But I feel like this is better. He's better at the public speaking than he was in 08.
Because there's no pressure.
There's no pressure, but also he can go low, as they said we used to say they wouldn't do, right? So they absolutely,
as Michelle said not to do. Yeah.
Right. As Michelle said not to back in the day. But yeah, no, they it was spicy, and I was there for it.
God,
you're looking very Captain America tonight. I don't know.
I am?
Chris Evans-y. You are, yeah.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm looking at myself going like losing weight, but the hairline looks like it receded about a half a millimeter.
Yeah, did you see Deadpool? Because you're looking a little bit Chris Evans Deadpool. A little bit. He was a little bit disheveled, but he was still him.
Okay, Matt's gonna be mad that you said a spoiler, even though he's seen it. Now I will tell you, I am not in any state to be going to movie theaters, but I did see it. I'm not going to describe how I saw it, but I saw it.
I see.
And I felt I had to, because I knew I wouldn't be going to movie theaters, but I had already seen 2 or 3 significant spoilers online, and was basically like, even if I have to see a garbage version of it, I want to be able to experience the exciting moments for myself first. So that blew. Anyway, 720-619-2288 if you want to call and debate with us on shit and stuff. Actually, oh my goodness. Okay. I just want to get this one out of the way, actually. Let's do this one quickly. Jackie in Mississippi. Jackie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm fine. Jackie, do you know who I am? Are you familiar with me at all?
I know who
We've talked once. Okay. And generally, that this channel, are you aware that I'm not trying to brag, I'm not trying to like establish anything, but you know that the line is my baby, if you will, that this is my channel and I run the stuff here, yeah?
I broadly know you. To my understanding, you're like some weird, not weird, not in that sense, but you're like a political commentator.
Sure. Anyway, so the point is here that we're probably going to have your discussion, but Jackie, I'm sorry. In monitoring what's going on here on the line and in monitoring what's going on with your calls, we have to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart. You know what I'm going to call this, Jackie? You, Paul, and I are going to have a little bit of a come to Jesus, metaphorically. Jackie, if we're going to keep taking your calls, we need you to start recruiting us other Christian callers to call in. That's basically what I'm going to tell you. If you want to keep getting on the air, and here's my problem with you, Jackie, because I do have a problem with you. I'm afraid. I'm sorry to reveal it. You use us the way you're supposed to be using Google. You come up with an argument that is phrased that you like from Jordan Peterson or somebody of equal ridiculous sophistry, and then you bring it to us, and it seems to be that if you bring it to somebody and it's novel enough that they don't know what the fuck you're talking about because it is disguised in this flowery language. Don't finish. Please don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt. Sorry, wait, Jackie, are you telling me you're not the Jackie I'm thinking of?
I'm Jackie from Mississippi. I'm a theist.
Okay, yes. Okay, stop for a moment and let me finish, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. And what you end up doing is you go and you do your Googling, you find the one you want, and you go, okay, I have argument A, and I don't know whether argument A is good or not, so I'm going to go test it on the line. When what you should be doing, Jackie, is going, if I can Google argument A, I can Google the refutation of argument A. And I should call in once I've gone argument, refutation, refutation of the refutation, refutation of the refutation of the refutation. And I can wait until I have a solid spot where I go, okay, I have now read so much of the for and the opposing that I could make either side of the argument myself, but I think this side is the correct side. And that's when you should call in. because I've reviewed your calls. And the thing that's really frustrating, Jackie, is you get multiple types of calls, but you can even get in a call with, like, for example, Dr. Aron Adair, who owned you back and forth all the way to London town. And then last time you called me, you tried to pull the philosophy boy bullshit of, well, it depends what true means. And you say things like, I reject the idea that time is linear when asked about the nature of history and reality. You say these sort of bullshit concepts, and you're sort of a bullshit artist. So as we go into this conversation, I'm almost done. As we go into this conversation, understand that that's already who I think you are. That's already the tactics that I think you use. And if we are going to, after this call, continue to take your calls, it will be because you're at least doing us the solid, Jackie, of going and finding us other religious callers to call in and debate rather than have the same goddamn type of conversation with you. How many times have you called in now? 30 or 40? And seemingly, even though you've been corrected many times...
Probably 10 times.
Okay, let's say it's 10. I might have been being hyperbolic, but let's say it's 10. And seemingly, rather than you going, ooh, I was wrong on that, and here's how I've improved, you've gone, ooh, I was wrong with that. So I let go of that one, went and Googled and found a new one for you, rather than actually reflect on it. So now, Jackie, unless Paul has something he wants to add, I'm not sure if he's done this with you already or is familiar. Now, Jackie...
I'm new to Jackie.
You can respond.
Just to clarify, because you did misrepresent my view, I don't believe linear time is not real. I was arguing against the Hegelian notion of a dialectic understanding of time, but I do believe in linear time. Now, if you want the case I'm going to make today, and I've made different arguments over the course of my calling into the line, I'm basically going to be arguing the Neoplatonist doctrine that is put forward by Plotinus makes most sense in line with the God of classical theism. So are you familiar with Plotinus?
And is this the basis upon which you believe in God, this argument, or is it just an argument you like?
An argument.
So this is not the reason, this is not an argument that you actually anchor your belief in God on, correct?
It's not essential.
Great, get rid of it and do one that is. I don't care about, here's one I want to, here's the thing. If it is not one that your actual belief is,
it is
Jackie,
part of my belief.
Well, the one that hinges on.
You just said it's non-essential. It does not anchor on it. It's just one that you like. Go with the one it anchors to. One of many. Go with your anchored belief. I'm not doing, actually, before we do that, Jackie, hey, if I say to you, is it true? What am I asking?
You're asking me, is it true? And there are different definitions philosophers have used.
No. If I, in a conversation with a person, all right, so if you make a claim and I say, but is that claim true? What am I asking you? Don't just say you're asking, is it true? Ask what I mean.
I don't know what your metaphysical or epistemological system is, so I don't know.
See, Jackie, this is why talking to you is nonsense. Because clearly, in a non-formal conversation where we're calling in and we're having a chat, we're going to be operating in the world of the colloquial. And if I say, "Is it true?" like when I hung up on you last time you called in, and instead of answering, just went, "Depends on what true means." I am asking whether or not the belief you are professing comports with reality, if you need to dress it up with language. So now that we know that, give us an argument that your belief actually is contingent upon, is actually anchored to.
The argument I came in with is basically Plotinus, who was a Neoplatonist.
What did I just tell you? Who muted him? I didn't mute Jackie.
I didn't.
Nope, not on this end.
Literally, all our hands were off the... Jackie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, well, your audio cut out. Now, before you start again, recall that we already said we're not going with your hobby arguments. We're not going with the argument of, oh, I like this one. You're going to present an argument for why you believe in a God that your belief actually anchors to. Otherwise, we can do it a different way and get a bit Socratic, since you like the philosophy boy speak.
I think there are multiple reasons I believe in God. You're asking
which God do you believe in?
The God of the Abrahamic religions, particularly the non-Islamic ones.
The non-Islamic God of the Abrahamic religions. So to be clear, you are saying that you believe in the Jewish and Christian God, correct?
Yes, although I'm Unitarian.
Okay. And so while they claim a similar origin, first of all, I would take issue with you are claiming that they are the same God, because if you believe in the messianic prophecy as being fulfilled, the God the Jews believe in did not fulfill that prophecy while the Christians did. This is sort of like when people use that bullshit, we were founded on Judeo-Christian values, which is not a concept that actually exists, and it's a way of trying to include the Jews, try and act like we've not been a historically anti-Semitic sack of crap, when in reality there isn't a Judeo element to these values that they're advocating for. So it seems to me what you actually mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, you believe in the non-Islamic and non-Jewish God, except for that you do believe that the God of the Old Testament, of the old Jews, did evolve into the Christian God, but the current God that the Jews are worshiping, which is a God that did not fulfill any messianic prophecies, you do not believe in, correct?
I really don't care about the specifics here.
You could just answer correct. You could just actually participate. Okay, great. So tell me, incorrect. You do believe in the current day Jewish God, which has not fulfilled messianic prophecies.
I'm not convinced Jesus is the Messiah ben David.
Great. So then you do believe in the Christian God too, as well, right?
No, but I feel Christians worship the same God I do.
You understand that the argument we just did, if you just flip it,
but anyway,
it's
none
the
of this
same
is
thing in
relevant to my
reverse.
argument.
Jackie, I've thrown out your argument. I don't care about the argument. I'm getting into the core of which God you believe in and why you believe in it, instead of this silly, here's a little pet project. I Googled it this week, and as I didn't bother to Google any refutations of it or engage in the place that this would actually be interesting, I called into a conversational show to try and show off to the audience all of the philosophy words I spoke this week to see if I can trip the people up on the air and see if they actually can force themselves to give a fuck, when in reality these philosophy boy conversations are essentially exercises in sniffing one's own farts and hoping that those farts can gain enough mass to liquefy into a wine glass so we can pump them down our gullet. That's what I think of your conversations, Jackie. So if you want to continue with your philosophy boy version of it, the r/I am so smart, call in a different day and do it with somebody who gives a fuck. But if you want to stay on the phone with me, you're going to go through my line of questioning again, unless Paul goes, okay, no, I really want to talk to a Jordan Peterson sophist baby. Go on.
I believe in the God that Noahides and Orthodox Jews believe in. If you don't know who Noahides are, you can look it up.
Great. Thank you for the permission to look it up. And the expression that actually what you just said I was going to do, Jimmy, which is try to come up with words or concepts that I'm hoping are gaps in your knowledge and then intellectually condescend to you. It's how long did it take you? 9 seconds? Well done. Well done, Jackie. Great. You believe in the Orthodox Jewish God.
Yes.
You do not believe that Jesus Christ was resurrected.
Nope.
Great. You love Jordan Peterson. Go on.
I think he has some intelligent points. I think I disagree with him on some things.
Do you believe that the story of Moses and the Exodus is a literal story and an account from the actual history of our world? That it is true and that it comports with reality, and that if we rewound the days, we would rewind back far enough, we would meet Moses and his merry band of ocean-walking Jews?
I believe the Exodus was a historical event.
You do believe the Exodus was a historical event. Great. Do you believe that the global flood happened?
No.
Hey, that's sweet. Where do you believe the story of Noah comes from?
I believe the book of Genesis contains a lot of metaphor and allegory and meta-truths that are not necessarily literally true in the sort of fundamental, well, not even fundamentalist, the literalist sense. But I do believe.
Do you believe that God inspired the writer of Genesis to write the global flood story, or do you believe that it was adopted from a different religious tradition and adapted for the Jews?
I believe the entire Torah, both written and oral Torah, were given to Moses at Mount Sinai, and I believe it represents either metaphorical truth or literal truth, depending on which book of the Torah.
Which books are metaphor?
Not all of it, but a large amount of the book of Genesis I consider to be metaphorical, or at least not plain face reading.
And how do you know when it is metaphorical versus when it is literal?
I go by what Orthodox Jewish theologians, how Orthodox Jewish theologians throughout history have interpreted the Tanakh.
Got it. You let other people determine it, is what you're saying. And how do they determine it?
Well, most of them would go to sources in the Talmud or Kabbalah, depending on their strain of Orthodox Judaism. And some of them create their own interpretations.
Right. So how you've just said they're looking at other documents, and do those documents designate these verses were metaphorical versus these verses were literal?
Yeah, there are some discussions like that in the Talmud.
In the Talmud says, for example, that the 6-day creation, or we'll just say Noah's flood, was metaphorical.
No, but the Talmud does offer some interpretations.
So the Talmud doesn't. Where do you get that Noah's flood was a metaphor, if not the Talmud?
I've heard some Orthodox Jewish people I know who say that is an acceptable belief.
So to be clear, your belief that it is metaphorical is essentially just a choice of this is the one that makes the most sense to me, correct?
Something to that effect.
Not evidentiary. So if a scholar, for example, were to tell you the story was not written as metaphor, your rebuttal would be not that you have evidence it was, but that you feel it was.
Yeah. It's a case-by-case basis. We have to talk about a specific example of an event in the Bible that's described, how Orthodox Jewish theologians respond to that. You know, I'm not...
I love it when people answer questions I didn't answer. They're like, you know what Jimmy wants is the question he wished he had answered. And then they go ahead and guess at what that question is. But we'll just go ahead and move on. Do you believe Adam and Eve literally existed?
I believe the first two human beings who God referred to as Adam and Eve existed.
How long ago?
I don't know.
Great. Why do you, upon what basis do you reject evolution?
I don't reject evolution.
Yes, you do. You just did. You said that you believe there were two original human beings. And that's not how evolution works. And if you were to understand evolution, you would know that that's not how it works. So there definitely was not two original human beings. Even if you want to go with concepts like mitochondrial Eve, she wasn't married to mitochondrial Adam. So I ask again, if you believe Adam and Eve were the original human beings and that there was two original human beings before any other human beings, why do you reject the theory of evolution?
Well, I believe Adam and Eve were the first two human beings, but I don't believe evolution in a broader sense of like animals and humans adapt to their environment over time is false, and I don't believe in a young Earth. I believe there was some point in designated time that God created two human beings and designated them Adam and Eve. What aspects of the creation story are literal versus figurative is not up for me to decide.
Yeah, well, you just said moments ago it was up for you to decide when you talked about Noah's flood, that you get to, there is some level of these are the acceptable things you're allowed to, as other people have told you. But in this case, you have gone astray of that very thing. So I'm going to return to the Adam and Eve thing, because you said you believe God put two. Not only do we know that all Homo sapiens do not descend from two Homo sapiens, I guess I should ask you this. Do you believe Adam and Eve were of the species Homo sapien?
Yes.
What species do you believe their parents were?
I believe those were the first two human beings.
So once again, you do reject the theory of evolution, which posits and has proven, and as much as science can prove anything, it's an imperfect word. We're going to go with the colloquial, but it is an absolute fact that Homo sapiens are all descendants of multiple mitochondrial Eves. And before Homo sapiens, all humans, all Homo sapiens descend from the same mitochondrial Eve, actually a few of them, Homo erectus. Do you reject that all humans come from Homo erectus?
It's not a scientific or theological question that I've researched enough
Yes,
into
it is.
to not enough to form a conclusive opinion without further looking into the arguments on the subject. But I accept evolution is real, and I accept it.
No, you don't.
So.
No, sir. No, you do not. If you believe all Homo sapiens descended from Adam and Eve, and that Adam and Eve had no parents, and that we don't all descend, therefore, from Homo erectus, you do not accept that evolution is true. But we can move on to other ones. Actually, Paul, do you have questions? I feel I am...
Well, maybe here's the way I would respond. It could be that Adam and Eve are the first two human beings, but not the first two humans, Homo sapiens. So it's potentially possible that they're Homo sapiens of the taxonomical species in a secular sense that were Homo sapiens before, but because God didn't blow a soul into them, they weren't human beings in a metaphysical sense.
So to you, the definition of a human being is a Homo sapien with a soul.
Yes.
So you're positing that perhaps the alternative is that, in fact, which you already said a contradictory thing to this, Adam and Eve did have parents, and that those parents were Homo sapiens who were not extended the grace of God, despite the fact that if they are Homo sapiens, they would have also been born with in the image of God. They would have been made in the image of God, and would have had understanding, would have had emotions, would have had, because there's no point in history that Homo sapiens did not have our advanced level of brains, right? Our brains are evolving, but not to that level. And in fact, species prior to them, there are signs of had higher levels of intelligence and did things that were ritual, and one might even argue religious in appearance. So how are you going to reconcile all that together there, buddy, since it already contradicts something you said earlier?
You're asking me a lot of loaded, very specific questions that you're expecting.
I know.
A direct...
It's so annoying when a person I'm trying to have a conversation on the phone with doesn't allow me to go down the silly routes and forces me to show the inconsistencies in my understanding of something, rather than let me go down some pre-scripted sort of argument that I want to have, that I think because of the novelty of the argument and their ignorance of it, it'll make them look dumb, even if it's really just a matter of they haven't thought about it before. Jackie, wouldn't that just frustrate the hell out of you?
You're assuming a lot about my intention here. I'm here to
I know I am. But would that frustrate you, Jackie?
It does frustrate me that you derailed what my intention was.
I know. I already told you earlier I wasn't going to do that one, that you could call in another time if you were insisting that that was the only thing you were going to talk on. Jackie, what I've done here is purposeful. You have called in many times and insisted essentially on control of the conversation and tried this.
I have a specific topic I want to talk about.
Jordan Peterson-esque tactic. And what I have done is shown that when you actually strip you down to the basics, talk one-to-one, human to human, on very basic things, the amount of hypocrisy, self-contradiction, and nonsensical arguments present in your belief are vast. But now, Jackie, I will see if Paul wants to have a go back and forth with you. But otherwise, I'm good and ready to move on. And Jackie, from your own complaints, it sounds like you aren't interested in chatting with me anymore anyway. So let's see if Paul's interested.
I was recently told that I have no business talking about philosophy. So, Neoplatonism sounds like something that Christians tell me I have no business talking about. So we can probably move on.
You can talk about it.
Jackie said you can.
No, I'm good. I was going to, correct that it wasn't mitochondrial Adam, that it was, chromosomal Adam, but that's fine.
There's
true. No male DNA in the mitochondria, but that's the extent of my science knowledge. So
very good.
All right. Thanks, Jackie.
Jackie,
just one more
the
thing.
original
Can I
host
just
of this
ask one
did offer a
question?
little bit of advice. Yes, you can. You can have the parting words in a moment. The original host of this episode has a bit of parting advice himself, and I'd like to pass that on to you. Next time you have a specific topic you want to talk on the phone about, start your own show.
If you want the reason, so first of all, when it comes to biblical stuff, I believe part of it is literal and metaphorical, and which parts are not up for me to discern. You're asking me, you're conflating scientific and religious truth as if they're the same thing, and it's hard for me to
just
answer.
reveal the places where you had an opinion based on your religion on a scientific truth that is in conflict with reality. So if on the basis of your religion, you say something defiant of science, oh yeah, Jackie, I'm going to bring that shit to the surface, because after this call, you're not going to go away like previous calls and be like, well, the fact that they weren't ready for this thing that I put in hours of prep for and they didn't means I must be right or getting closer to right. And instead you're walking away clearly with hat in hand, if you're being remotely honest, and going, holy shit, I don't even know what the fuck I believe, because it turns out I say contradictory things. You have 15 seconds for a wrap up, Jackie. Wherever you are at the end of that 15 seconds, the phone call will end.
First of all, I don't really get most of my philosophy from Jordan Peterson. So what philosophers do you think I should look into? Like Martin Heidegger, or
9,
who do you think that?
10, 11, 12,
That's a question.
13, 14, 15. Goodbye.
If you want...
I bet he hated that call.
I'm sure
I bet he fucking hated it. Hated it.
You got. I love where he got to the point, completely non-self-aware. It's like, no, I haven't looked into that. That's why I don't have an opinion. He's like,
really?
What?
Oh my God. Truly, there's nothing more fun than exposing a person to themselves and what it's like to talk to themselves and then be like, well, I didn't like any of that. I mean, sorry. Then again, would I like hanging out with myself? Who fucking knows? Probably not. I'll let you pick the next call. And I will shut up, because Jackie was a personal thing I knew
it was great for
before
me.
the show started. Yeah.
I am not used to having so we look in not the screening room, the host queue. All right. Well, I think Kyle's been waiting the longest. We'll talk to Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey, what up?
Welcome
You're
to
on
the
the line
hangout
with Jimmy and Paul. Yeah.
How's it going?
Peachy.
Peachy, I like
I don't know
it.
why I say that. Yeah, sure. Anyway, what is your question? And I'm going to give it, this is going to be a Paul heavy call. I owe it to him.
All right, I got you. So I got to thinking about the slavery. I was all on board with believing everything the Bible said. And then I started calling in the show, started thinking about it. I was like, fuck, man, slavery is just fucked up. So I have to unboard on that. I want to know, I know how you get into slavery versus how you get imprisoned is different, but how is actually being in slavery and versus being imprisoned any different?
You mean like as a day-to-day experience? Like, do you get yard time when you're... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to make it weird.
Sorry, man. You are in a combined area. You are being told what to do, when to do it. I mean, you have no freedom. I feel like on both ends.
Well, I would say that slavery, by most definitions, would be a subset of imprisonment. There's different ways, there's different categories of imprisonment, and slavery, if there was a Venn diagram, like, is entirely within imprisonment, right? Because you're not free to go when you're a slave. So that would be, I think imprisonment to me, in the broadest sense, just means you're not free to go. So, do you disagree with that?
I don't. I just honestly, I keep an open mind on everything. So I just wanted to see what your guys' outlook on it would be.
Yeah,
Right.
very briefly,
So,
in America and the corporate system, I would just say there is a lot of slavery in our prison system, but that's all.
For sure, man. Now, all right, can I? Let me move to a different question. Now, on the pro-choice versus pro-life, I differ with a lot of Christians on that. I feel like if God be God and He gave us all free will, it sounds like God is also free pro-choice.
So that's more of a statement than a question, I'm guessing.
I heard something about it earlier, so I just wanted to add that part in.
Because neither of us are theists, and neither of us are qualified to say what the Christian values, if one could even say that there is a general Christian value or what the Christian God wants. We don't think that being exists. So us speculating on his positions on issues would be foolish.
Okay, now let me add to that. To come to the conclusion that there is no God or that we have no reason to believe in a God, wouldn't you have to first study each and every other religion before you come to the realization of reason that there would be a God?
Well, my position, I won't speak for Jimmy, the position is that I have seen, so far there has not been any evidence presented to me to convince me that there is a God. Also, I feel like the definitions I've been presented in, and I've examined the major religions, but there may well be a religion out there that does define a God that in fact exists. But that does not mean that I am irrational to hold a position that until I'm presented with such evidence, that I see no reason to accept the proposition. Wouldn't you think?
I got you. Makes sense. Now, if there was a Jesus, these guys documenting the miracles, do you think that they were miracles, magic, or just a myth?
I do not feel like testimony alone can ever be sufficient reason to believe that a miracle happened. People are mistaken every day, and they're lying every day, constantly.
Right.
And sincerely mistaken is also a category. So testimony alone will never be sufficient reason. We are jumping all over the map. Is this leading anywhere particular, or is this just a list of 10 questions you'd hoped to ask?
But yeah, you just nailed it. Just try to ask some questions. That's all.
God damn it, it's Kyle from Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I usually end the call good. They all say they fucking love me at the end of the call. Matt,
No, don't go. Don't go. Hey, whoa, Kyle. This has barely been foreplay so far. Do not go.
Man, my clothes are still on.
Okay, good enough. Right, that's my point, Kyle.
Yeah,
Let's actually get to some actual, like, you asked us, you did your interview. I imagine Paul, and if he gives me the cue that he wants to pass on,
Jimmy,
I'm giving him the dominance. But
the question asking, yeah.
I bet. Well, I'm going to give it back as soon as you want it. But Kyle, you're calling and asking us sort of our opinions on if Christ, if God, if whatever. You know,
right.
If my arms were made of bread, I'd be a sandwich, right? So Kyle,
right.
Let's get rid of the if. We don't believe in God. You do. We want to believe in everything we can that is true and exists. You have a truth you believe is true and exists. We won't believe in that which is true and exists until we have sufficient reason to do so, which means there are many true things out there that I don't currently hold a belief in, and I want somebody to reveal those things to me, bring them to me, and give me the adequate reason to accept them. So now, Kyle,
right on.
That truth you have, please explain to us what we're missing and why our denial of what seems to be the Christian God is incorrect.
Now, I have changed my position. I no longer hold to Christianity. I guess it would be more deism. I guess, like, I believe that there's a God. I'm not sure which one, and I'm okay with saying that I don't fucking know.
Okay, so that's not what deism is. Deism is the idea that you believe there is a sort of totally impersonal, undetectable God who started the universe and then fucked right off, or is maybe in some corner of the universe making new dinosaurs or doing some shit, but he doesn't care about his creation. Totally impersonal, and it's just sort of a creating entity. Doesn't even necessarily have to have a will. It might just be the nature of the deistic God. You're saying that you believe that there is a God, and give me the equalities you just gave.
I
Again?
believe that there is a God, but I have no fucking clue which one it is.
Okay, what do you believe this God has done? Presumably created the universe, correct?
Correct. I think that
Okay.
everything written in the Bible is questionable. I think that the Jesus story is convincing, and that the God thing is a fact in my mind. That's currently where I'm at.
By Jesus story,
Jesus
do you
story-
mean
Yeah, go ahead.
in what parts of the Jesus story? That he existed, or that like he full-born virgin birth, raised from the dead?
All of it. He died. The body was no longer in a tomb, and I would like to believe that he did resurrect and that he really was sent from God.
Why do you believe there was a tomb?
Why do I believe? Can I answer that like as in general the whole Jesus thing?
Sure. Is this? Hold on, I have a mug for this. Is it for the
Okay.
Bible tells me so?
It is not. It was. If you would have asked me that days prior, I would have said, "Well, yeah, duh."
Okay.
But I
Then
got a little
let
smarter.
me stop interrupting and you carry on.
Okay. I'm going off hearsay, but everybody says that there is historical evidence. I feel like the whole world, like we celebrate Christmas. I'm sure there's a deeper meaning to Christmas, and just our man. It just makes sense, I guess. Until I do more.
Wait, this isn't. I don't think I've heard an argument from Christmas before that there must be more to Christmas than just everyone agreeing to be nice to each other for a day.
Right. Okay. Now, what about the what about the dates?
So
we're in
what
2000
Bible verse? Oh, hold on. Do you believe that the Bible espouses Christmas?
Do I believe that it is in connection?
No. Do you think that the Bible commands people to celebrate Christmas or suggests that anyone should celebrate Christmas?
No, I don't. But the birth of Christ, and that just happens to be the day that we do it.
You think that the Bible suggests that we should celebrate the birth of Christ?
I believe so. Yes.
Where would you, based on what verse or what story?
I would say it would be more than just one day out of the year celebration, but I do believe it should be celebrated, and it is a worldwide.
Answer his
No,
question though.
that's
What verse requests we celebrate it?
There is not one.
Right.
Okay, and yet it seemed, and that one of your major groundings is the special feeling you feel at Christmas.
Well, and we run on time, like we're in 2000 AD after the death of who?
No. So first of all, do you think that AD stands for after death?
That's just what I've grown up to believe. Yeah.
I do not know the Latin. Jimmy, do you know the Latin off the top of your head?
I think it's Anno Domini, right? Let me double check.
So
it is.
What
Anno
year
Domini.
do you think Jesus died?
Man, that's up for question. I'm not sure.
So most experts say either 30 or 33 AD.
Okay, right.
When do you think Jesus was born?
I would have had to have been 33 years prior. Man, good question.
So if you go with the details in the Gospels, you are left with a date of anywhere from plus like AD 10 through BC 14.
Right.
So
hey, BC doesn't stand for before Christ. Does it have a different meaning also?
It also has a Latin term. Now, vaguely, I will acknowledge that people kind of have generally used that, but like you seem to be pinpointing, well, there's this point in time, there was this year one. And how could that year one exist if Jesus didn't rise from the dead? Do you think that the Chinese calendar aligns to something that, is a supernatural event?
Right. Fuck, man.
Do you believe in the
honestly
Greek,
why I
Roman, or Norse gods?
I think that in people's heads they're real.
No. Do you believe in them the way you believe Jesus because of all of the tradition and the pointing to things like the dates? Do you believe in the Roman, Greek, and Norse gods?
I don't think so, but it's possible.
Right. What day of the week is it?
It is Wednesday.
Where's that word come from?
Enlighten me.
The Norse gods. What's tomorrow?
Okay, right. I got you.
What's
Thursday.
wait, let's keep going. Kyle. Okay, Kyle, what do you know where that one comes from?
I don't.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe, because that is Thor's Day.
Thor's Day.
And that's the only reference
bro,
to Thor
right.
I'm aware of.
Right.
Yeah. What day is the Sabbath?
That would be Saturday.
What's the next day? I forget that people have different Sabbaths. That's my bad. That's my bad. I grew up Mormon, so Sabbath was Sunday, which was literally the day of the God of the sun.
Right. Yeah.
Kyle, your answer was correct, by the way, but that's fine.
Yeah, BC. But so it's BC. We have an alternative that is BCE, before current era. And then CE is the alternative to AD, because AD, Anno Domini, does stand for. So there have been people who have secularized these terms. But the fact of the matter is Kyle, what you have discovered is not a god. What you have discovered is a god culture, right? That's right. As we just pointed out, the names of the days of the week, even the ways we celebrate Christmas. If you want to look at how Judaism became more monotheistic and created this like Christ-like thing, you could start off with the animist religions they pulled from, which included a priest who claimed to be the son of God, and when presenting his whole thing, said, I have a message from my father. It begins with, behold, this is my only begotten son in whom I am well pleased. And then you can go through all of the traditions of Zoroastrianism that Judaism implemented to eventually become monotheistic, that would then become a part of Christianity and remove the fact that the foundations of Christianity were very polytheistic, that while they worshipped Elohim, they believed lots of other gods existed. And in fact, there are Jewish temples to this day that exist from that period in time where you can still see representations of where they were giving offerings and worship to some of these other gods. So the whole thing is culture. And Kyle, it sounds like you are in a really good spot of you're thinking about things, you're discovering things, you're less religious this week than you were last week. What a place to begin with, to be in. The whole world of actual things that exist is ahead of you, and I'm almost jealous because there's a lot of fun shit to come. There's also, depending on how religious your family and stuff are, there might be some bullshit too, but a lot of good shit to become. And what I think I would recommend for you, Kyle, and Paul did a sort of tongue-in-cheek representation of this. You created this new logical fallacy earlier called the argument from Christmas. Hilarious. You should learn what the logical fallacies are. Now, the good news is, and patrons will be finding out about it, I think this week, more about it. We're going to be launching a channel with several game shows here soon. And one of the game shows is focused on teaching the logical fallacies. But one of the fallacies you also are committing here is called argument ad populum, which is essentially lots of people believe it, so there must be truth there. And that is not actually a good reason to believe in something.
Right. Now, can I give you a laugh for a second?
Please.
I insist.
Man, okay, so the real reason I am so scared to completely get myself out of religion completely, like the God thing, is because I was a new believer probably 2 years ago. I got so involved in it, so excited about it, wanted to believe everything it said. So I know how easy I am to get myself uninterested in things that I find interesting. I went and got a big old fucking head tattoo of Romans 12:2, hoping that would like, oh yeah, I'm stuck forever, and I don't know how to work around that.
Well, first you launch the GoFundMe for the laser, and see if your friends will help you undo your bad mistake.
Fuck, bro, it's bad, man.
Romans
Nobody
12:2 is
thankful.
one you could almost reclaim. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Romans 12:2 is not the worst verse to tattoo on yourself for sure, because there is some there's some fortune cookie wisdom to it if you like at that level, right? It's if you squint at it a little bit, don't conform to a pattern, but use your own mind to think about something. You can kind of re-express it that way.
I
Don't
appreciate
follow the
your
crowd.
Yeah.
Where what?
Where on your head?
On the very top, covering the entire top of my head.
Okay, so first of all, solution number one is a hat. If Tim Pool can do it every day of his life,
That's
so
what
can
Forrest
you.
said. That's what Forrest said.
it's
Get a
not
fucking
tough.
cover up, wear a hat, and just laugh.
Yeah, it's it'll be all right. Solution number two: wait 5 years of wanting a tattoo before you get one. And I'm telling you that as somebody who has 0 tattoos and has been pretty sure he's wanted the same tattoo on his left shoulder for now 16 years, I think it is, 18 years, and still haven't gotten it. So you can wait. You won't die. Wait to get these tattoos. There are very few mandatory tattoos. If you ever go through radiation, you may have to get a tattoo there. But other than that, there's not very mandatory.
And yet, I remember
tattoos.
being on this show where people were randomly tattooing themselves with art from other hosts. So I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
Hey, you guys
Matt.
raised a family. You guys asked around a family. You guys raised the family thing. What do you do when you have a religious family and you start questioning it, and then they start being hateful towards you just because you don't want to stay in the faith?
What did I do? I cut them off.
That's a deep one.
Yeah, like what the fuck do you do, man?
So you need to. This has happened to both of us. So you are,
Okay.
but very different experiences, I would say. But you
For
do
sure.
need to, at that point, evaluate. Well, first of all, it may not be up to you. If there may be no situation by which you can hold your true beliefs and still remain in the family, and that is very sad. And that unfortunately is the situation. But there is a lot of middle ground sometimes, and you need to figure out how important is keeping these relationships, and can you set aside some of your desire or need to agree in order to maintain the relationships. This doesn't always have to be about religious things, but it could be about political things. It could be literally about sports teams. It could be about who knows what you might disagree about. But at some point, any relationship is going to have some level of disagreement, and you just need to make that decision. So for example, in my family, we had to come to an agreement that we value the relationship enough that we are not going to ever talk about religion. Now,
Right.
There are situations where it can't come up, but that's just not a topic we're going to have when we're together, because
Right on.
that is counter to maintaining a relationship. Those are boundaries that we've set, and if anyone is to, like any boundary setting, if people don't respect the boundaries, then you just need to cut that off. But that's an option. And also, of course, I'm judging by your voice that you, and this may be inerrantly judging you, but it doesn't sound like you're necessarily financially dependent on the family at this point.
Right.
That I give a whole separate different answer for that if you are still financially dependent. But
I got you.
At this point, I mean, I think you just need to figure out that you can feel free to be in debate mode all the time if you want, and pick the fights or accept the fights. But if you value the relationship, at some point, you have to let agreement be something that you sacrifice.
For sure. For sure.
And
Well,
in
hopefully that
2025,
helps.
buy my book, A Beginner's Guide to Religious Deconstruction. That'll help. I don't know if it will or not, but
Okay.
I'm gonna talk about it a lot until I eventually release it. But yeah, Paul's quite right on it. As far as like red flags of whether or not they're reconcilable, I can't tell you for sure who will and won't be, but I can tell you that part of the reason why I think my family wasn't savable is because my parents don't have an identity outside of their religion. In other words, to say like we'll just never talk about religion, they would have nothing to talk about. My brother and I sometimes as a joke will be like, all right, this time we're going to try really, really hard to think of one life skill our father taught us that wasn't go to church and be a church boy.
Yeah, man.
One.
Right
Can't think
on.
of any.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
Yep.
Well, hopefully
And then
that
my
helps
parents-
somebody else that's listening. And I guess that's all I had for today.
Yeah. The last thing I was saying, then my parents, even after we tried to have a few events where we agreed no religion on the table, would do passive aggressive things like have church music playing at Thanksgiving. When they like plenty of non-church music, like it was obvious what they're doing. And you know, in previous years when we had Thanksgiving with like Jewish friends and family and things like that, they weren't putting on the Mormon Tabernacle Choir then. Or I'm sorry, I'm sure it's now called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Tabernacle Choir. Anyway, it's some sort of an inside joke. Kyle, anything else before we let you go?
Man, that's all. I appreciate y'all's time.
Tight.
All right.
All right,
Bye,
take care, guys.
Kyle.
Bye.
That was kind of topic roulette at the start there.
Yeah, it was. It was, but I think the overarching conversation is going to be much more useful than what followed. I think will have been much more useful than Paulogia. Hey, Paul, I've got some trivia questions for you, and the trivia is all about yourself. Anyway,
Great,
speaking of which, new episodes of the podcast Live on the Line are coming very soon, and that's kind of part of we literally do. Hey, here's the all about you trivia on the line. I know someone's going to point out I just said do. Anyway, you got a call you prefer there?
Oh, let's do. I'm a sucker for the people who've been waiting the longest. So is it? I don't. If it's Moises.
Moises, maybe. Tell us how to pronounce your name. Moses. Imagine we need to respell this. Is it spelled the traditional
there
way?
There is an I in there.
Okay.
There is an I in there, but it is silent.
Is there two I's? Because I got two I's in the word and on my face. Okay, so is it Moises is how it should be?
Correct.
All right. We'll get that fixed when we get the name on here. How are you doing, Moses? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Cool. Well, you're on the line with Jimmy and Paul. Go ahead and give it to us.
Okay. So, short story is grew up Mormon, like fairly heavy Mormon, you know, grandparents take you to church on Sunday. You just sit there begging Oma, Nana, whatever you want to call her, just like, you got any snacks in your purse? And I was bored out of my mind when I went to church. And I never really understood religion. Like, I just kind of accepted it as it was what it was, and that's probably what was true. But slowly I kind of deconverted myself, but I'm just kind of confused now where to go.
I see. I was also a big time Mormon, and I was also bored at church. In fact, it's one of the shortcomings of Mormonism is that because the Sunday sessions are led or the talks are given by members who are assigned by the bishop to give those talks, they're very rarely interesting because it's somebody who's literally just sitting there thinking about their talk and just nervous as heck. And they're like, all right, I got to get up and public speak for some reason, even though that's not anything I ever wanted to do. And then they're just kind of trying to get through it. And you're sitting there looking at the clock going, I know that when it's 10 after, that's usually when this fucking thing ends. So it is very
Yeah, that
boring,
was
the
me.
first hour of Mormon church. And I assume that you went back in the day when church sessions, when you had to go for 3 hours every Sunday, right?
Actually,
you-
I just
were you-
went that first hour and then I noped the fuck out.
Didn't go to Sunday school or priesthood. All right. How old were you when you left?
No, they could not force me. Well, I'm 19 now. I think the last time I went to church was when I was like 8.
Okay, so you didn't do the you didn't become a deacon. You haven't done the priesthood stuff, no sacrament stuff.
Nope, not
when
even
you say you're
baptized.
deacon, so if you haven't gone since 8, are you saying that you were just sort of like, I'm kind of Mormon, or are you saying that you have been a different religion? I'm almost confused on what you would need to deconstruct from if you haven't been going to church for 11 years.
Deconstructing the whole like belief in God. Like I didn't go to church not because I didn't believe, but just because I was really bored.
Okay, so it's not though that you're trying to replace. There's no religious community you're trying to replace. You're just basically going, up to this point, I've accepted a God exists. I've assumed that God was the Christian God, maybe with some Mormonism stirred in the pot. And now I just want to know how to work through that I don't believe that anymore.
Yeah, because
I guess that's
like
the question is,
my grandpa. Oh, sorry.
Do you currently believe in a God? Like if someone walked up to you and said, "Hey Moses, do you believe in God?" Your answer would be,
Well, considering I live in Idaho, like very religious Idaho, I would be afraid to say no. I'd be afraid to say like, no, I don't believe.
okay, but if you're asking yourself, say at night, you're trying to you surprise yourself and you self-reflect, you say, "Hey, do I believe in God?" Your answer to yourself would be,
Honestly, I don't know. It'd be a hopeful. It would be like a I hope so.
okay,
Which
so
God
not
do you
because
hope
of
exists?
Hmm?
Which God do you hope exists?
Well, I've been watching a lot of The Line, and I'm gonna be honest. I hope it's not the Christian one.
Okay. So you don't believe,
That
but you hope
God
one of them
sounds
exists.
scary.
And so is it that you're kind of just hoping a God that fits everything you want after you die to happen will then happen, a sort of individualistic Kyle's God because you're just afraid of dying?
Yeah, it's a big. I'm afraid of dying.
Cool. Go to therapy. That's the literal. We finally got to it. Go to therapy is the number one thing. Second one would be recovering from religion, rfr.org, or it might be recoveringfromreligion.org. I don't think you can shorten it. Which we got to figure out how to. It's probably going to cost way too much money to buy that. But recoveringfromreligion.org, and you can get into basically group sessions with people who are right there with you, who are wanting to talk about their fear and concern over death and non-existence and everything. Third, I would tell you, if you want to have it if you want to build some community where in Idaho you are feeling afraid of talking about it, Idaho is only second to Utah in having some of the most robust ex-Mormon communities, because everywhere that you have a robust religion community in America of one specific religion, generally there is an awesome community of people who left that religion. I just go to meetup.com and type in ex-Mormon, because ex-Mormons love meetup.com. Be careful. You want to make sure that you're going to the groups of people who are going to talk about things. You don't want to accidentally end up in a swinger group, as ex-Mormons are wont to do sometimes. You want to make sure that you're going to or maybe you do want to go. I don't know you, Moses, but just letting you know that both groups might be present in those spaces. What you need right now is to talk about it and talk about the concerns. But Moses, I'm also going to tell you the thing that I've been telling people most recently. How do you get over your fear of death? Who the fuck gets over their fear of death? I mean, there are some people who do. It seems like when you get older, you care less. No. Hang on, Paul, as he raises his head. You have evolved for the last 4.5 billion years to do things each day to try and stay alive. This is a royal you to anybody. The desire, when faced with death, when faced with a thing that might kill you, our brains literally go into what they call fight, flight, or freeze. that these are responses that hopefully, if you get the right one, will prevent you from dying. Frankly, if I wasn't afraid of death, I doubt I'd be alive, because what's so great about all this? Not to be depressing, but fear of death literally is a motivating factor for people every day. And then if you're going to have to live, that desire to have as good of a life as you can, that's the motivating factor to like get out of bed and do a little extra than just enough to stay alive and get by. I don't know why anybody would say, how do I get over being afraid of dying? And I don't really, and Paul might change my mind on this as I turn the mic over. I think I don't believe, not that I think they're lying. I think they might be maybe incorrect about what they think. I don't actually believe at the core when people say I have no fear of dying, or I'm not afraid of dying, or as Matt brought up, that they aren't bothered by the proposition that Hitchens had put forward, the idea of, it's not so bad that someone's saying the party is over. What's bad is that they're saying the party will go on, but you have to leave. I don't know. Anyway, all of that stuff is stuff, though, that you can handle in therapy and get a better level of acceptance of. Paul, I'd love to hear if you think I'm wrong.
Well, I don't have an answer that makes anyone happier, so that's fine. But no,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, part of my background is that I had a pretty aggressive cancer and was given 4 weeks to live. And when you spend 2 weeks, which is I did, thinking I had 4 weeks to live, you kind of come to face with that. And I guess where Jimmy and I would disagree is actually on the word fear. Like I don't even have FOMO. Like I don't fear it. I actively do things to make it not happen. But in my view, that's not the same as fear. I would wager that every single day, the thought crosses my mind, this could end today, and that's fine.
I think people caricaturize fear.
I might just be weird.
And I think that's where we disagree, because I think you're doing that thing too, where people are like, when I think of fear, I think of, almost the like TV representation of fear. And obviously that the act of being afraid, but I think it extends to beyond that. For example,
but I can contrast that with how I felt before when I did have that kind of fear.
Oh,
and I no longer
have an acceptance that I have an acceptance that I will die someday. And in a way, I'm right now putting effort into not dying, because if I were to stop all my meds and treatment and everything, it wouldn't take all of that long to die. But I'm not, for the record, before people freak out, it does not seem to be an immediate threat that I would die, because I am putting this effort in. But I've accepted I will die. But I don't think that removes. I think fear comes in a lot of forms, and I think that feeling despair about the life that will go on without you, I think, is a natural thing, and comes in a lot of forms. In the same way that I think homophobia, for example. Homophobia, I actually do think, is a fear of queer people. But they'll be like, I'm not afraid of them. I just hate them. But when you get to the root of it, I want to get very Yoda-esque as I expand into this, and it'll lead to the dark side. That was terrible. But I wanted to try to appeal to you where I know the things you love. Anyway, I don't know.
Ruin the things I love. That's going to help.
It would have to be something I'd want to spend more time articulating, though I bet you all articulated a lot in what I believe is currently set to be around chapter 16 of my book, A Beginner's Guide to Religious Deconstruction, coming out hopefully in 2025. If the current outline holds, that is. But anyway, I couldn't help but you guys are going to hear me say it a lot. If I suddenly stop saying it, it means I gave up. Yeah.
Have you actually started? Okay, so you and I can have a book competition.
Yeah.
Because my book is X% done.
I need my book to not suck.
Oh no!
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, we can be the accountability partners. You know how you have the accountability partners so that you don't look at the porn or whatever. We can just be we can be the alternate. Hey, did you write a paragraph today?
Hell yeah.
Oh my God! This reminds me of that.
Sorry, Moses. We forgot you were here.
Oh, it's okay. You guys' talk right now remind me of Stephen King and I think George R. R. Martin, where George R. R. Martin is like, how the hell do you get so many books out? I've only finished like 3 pages. You got 3 books out. This is what it kind of reminds me of.
And I think I recall King writes 13 pages every day.
He just writes. I think he writes like 13 pages a day, and I'm like, bro, how? Because I like writing too. I can't imagine that, even at my most passionate.
Yeah. Well, Moses, do you have any other questions? I feel like we gave you the best we could, and then had a little bit of I don't know. What else you got? Anything?
Well, my only other real question would be like, how would I explain this to my family? Because, like Kyle, he's not financially like in needing of his family, but I very much am.
Then probably don't.
So the question is, why would you want to, and what need is it filling for you to share that part of yourself right now?
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel like I would need to, but like if they ever like ask me, I don't want to lie.
Sure. But if you have to for your safety, do it anyway. The main thing though, Kyle, is that if you recognize that as a barrier, then it's a barrier you have to address. And unfortunately, the advice is the same as we already gave you, because very few people get out of that situation on their own. Usually it means that you have built a community through which you can either explore new career opportunities, new support opportunities, and community building is you getting a new community that accepts you is probably going to be the most important thing. So the same stuff from before, RFR, meet up for ex-Mormon community, and if you can get into therapy. All of those are community builders, especially if you go to group therapy, which is likely the type of therapy they would recommend for recovering from religious-based anxiety, basically.
All right, thank you. I would definitely avoid the swingers because I'm asexual.
All right.
I bet
so
you
that
there's
would
asexual
be
swingers.
very weird to me.
All right, yeah, sure, fair enough. I keep wanting to say Moises, but Moses.
I know,
ask your parents
my
why
dad,
they thought the better way
my
to
dad
spell
also
it
named
would
all
make
his.
them.
I don't know.
Your
My dad
dad-
just said he fucked up.
Oh, he just put the I by accident. I was like, so he wanted to
That's what he
invoke
said.
Moses, but he also wanted people to see the word moist every time. Something about
Oh God!
it. Anyway.
Don't call it moist. That was a recurring joke from middle school.
Yeah,
Oh God!
Nothing we come up with here will be new to you, I'm sure.
Nope.
Well, challenge
Trust me, I've
accepted.
heard
This
all
is
the
the next
Moses
hour of the
jokes, too.
show. If anybody wants to leave, you can leave. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks for calling, Moses. Best of luck to you, bud.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thanks,
See ya.
Moses.
Goodbye.
Have I ever told you my fondness for liars, Paul?
You have not.
It's negative. I cannot stand liars. And let me tell you about my negative fondness for liars. If I put out a poll question, for example, and I say, do you believe in God? And some individual would respond, yes, and I am ready to call and defend it. And then they don't call. It makes me like that person even less. Now, I don't know who these people are because these polls are anonymous. If I put out a poll and 780 people have responded to it, and of that 780 people, 2%, as in 16 people roughly, have said that they do believe in God and are ready to defend it, call in. But at present, and since putting up the poll, not a single one of them actually did call in. I am resigned to assume that they are either liars or cowards. But the coward way would be weird because they could just click and change their vote to that they are not ready. The yes and I am not ready, like 3% of the people did. But here
the
we
liar
are.
way, like they have chosen to bear false witness. That is a commandment, 9th commandment. They could have not voted if they didn't intend to call. They could have just said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to vote and be a liar. Now you are in the point where you will have to go to a priest or absolve yourself in some way. But if you can avoid that by calling.
I wonder how many of them are those Christians who believe it's okay to lie to infidels like me. Just hurts my feelings. Hurts my feelings. Liars. Richard in Texas, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow and Paulogia.
Is this me?
I assume so.
Hello,
if
Richard.
you're Richard in Texas.
Okay. Yeah, I heard a beep. I didn't
Cool.
hear my name. So I see the show title, and I was wondering if we could maybe find something we could disagree on. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. I'm not sure. But I see the show is titled "Why Believe in God."
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could discuss why I believe in progressive, politically correct ideas.
Okay.
Because
Well, that's
You think
so you believe that that is
sorry,
a
go ahead.
subcategory of the title, Why Believe in God, would lead to a
Yes,
conversation of.
I'll explain why briefly. So these debating belief in God topics typically take the format of, and from what I've seen, I don't know, I haven't been watching you guys very long, but they typically take the format of a progressive atheist framing the debate as in God believers are irrational and delusional, and atheists are rational and logical. But from what I see, belief in God, although I'm not a believer myself, is no less rational than belief in many, progressive, liberal, politically correct things that make people feel good, but aren't necessarily rational or logical. So I just think it's kind of unfair to frame a debate in God so narrowly that everything irrational that typically many progressives believe in is off limits, and only something that the other side believes in is critiqued. That's my opinion.
So
there.
Richard, I got to ask you, who would you like me to get added to the call onto the line? Because neither Paul nor I have presented or framed, as you say, that atheists are rational and logical and theists universally are not. Your characterization from the onset is incorrect. In fact, I don't even believe most atheists are logical and rational. The people who I believe are logical and rational are those people who value being logical and rational. Now, I think if a person correctly applies skepticism, that tends to be a outcome, an emergent property even of skepticism. However, your characterization from the ground up is bullshit. And I wonder if we can just cut through the bullshit and get straight to the actual reason you called, because you are too cowardly to call on a Thursday and say, I think that trans issues are the new religion. And in reality, Richard, you're calling because you're hoping you can turn this into some sort of anti-trans rant from you, where you're going to tell the people who present themselves as so logical that they're just as religious as Christians. Can we just cut to that? Can we just get there, Richard, or do we got to play the bullshit along the way?
Two things. One, you basically projected onto me what you did, because when I joined the discussion, I conceded that we may or may not find disagreement, because I haven't been listening to you guys that long. And I couched what I said, my statements, in saying often, many times, typically, I never made a blanket statement. So you are,
yeah, and
Mr.
I'm telling you,
Strawman
you were
today,
incorrect
you
because
get a
it
sticker.
never happens.
You get a sticker.
The framing you offered never happens. So anyway, can we jump forward to the fact that you don't like trans people and you don't like people validating trans people by saying things like women are women, trans women are women, men are men, and trans men are men? Can we just jump forward to it, or are you going to pretend that that's not what you're trying to get into?
Your question, your question implies that the only topic that the left is delusional about is gender, but there are any number of topics.
Hey, Richard.
Hey, Richard. Which
topic were you hoping we would get to that the progressive left is delusional on?
The one that you're most passionate about, that one.
No. When you called in,
that is.
you called in, Richard, you were preparing for this call. You had in your mind arguments you were ready to lay down. And you can pretend you didn't do that, but I've faced your type before, and I'm also familiar that you've called in before. You were here and ready with something. Which specific line, which set of arguments were you most prepared and intending to direct the concept of this progressive left delusion?
Depends on which topic gets your pussy the wettest.
Oh my,
That's
he's
the one
just
I want
not
to
going
talk
to answer.
about.
He's just,
Not one
he's
that
just
you
not,
don't.
just,
Not one that you just don't have. That
Richard,
you're
I
not
don't believe
passionate about.
you.
I want something that you're very passionate about, and we can debate that.
Uh-huh.
So wait,
Richard, I just don't
you
believe
want
you.
us? You want me to self-identify the beliefs that I hold that I think are irrational?
Well, I can throw out some. I can throw out a few, and you can pick. We could talk about the gender wage gap. We could talk about abortion. We could talk about the ACLU. We could talk about Islam. There are any number of delusions that you may or may not partake in that we could debate. But I don't want to debate you on something that we don't disagree on. I want to debate you on a point that we disagree on.
Hey, Richard. Why the fuck would we take a call with what is called poisoning the well? Once again, I hope people who are calling in to claiming to be more logical would actually learn things about skepticism, logical fallacies. We can talk about any one of your delusions. Why would we? Richard, you're right. We could talk about this. We could talk about that. Or I could punch myself in the nuts. Have a good night. He was calling to shit on trans people. Let's be real. That's what it was. That's what his intention was from the onset. It was notably, he tried to lower it down on the list there toward the end.
Of course.
I'd rather eat my own shit.
I want to know what he meant by Islam. He just dropped Islam in that list of delusions. I'm like, what?
I was ready to go there too.
I was like, what part of Islam? What do you mean?
This is the point. The person is calling and complaining that other people are projecting, but then saying definitively, these are the delusions you may have, meaning he thinks we have them, but he's trying to use language that he can always sort of get away with. Very J.K. Rowling-esque. Well, I worded it this way and this way. Of course, I would march with trans people. I just wish they would all die after the march. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit of I'm trying to couch this in a way where I never have accountability for what I'm clearly fucking doing. I'm not a very good thinker, but my confidence in my ability to think is sky high. It's not impressive. And the guy, if you're going to call in and project all of this and use all of this language that to a regular, like random person listening would have listened to that if it had gone unchallenged and be like, oh, wow, they believe that, and that because Richard just listed those things. They didn't challenge that whether they believe those things or not. When like, you're going to come to this channel and say, I assume that we like defend Muslim people, or perhaps he was going to be one of the morons who was going to say, well, in Gaza, if you're a queer man, right? Which maybe I doubt he knows I'm a queer because the guy clearly only wants to make assertions based on things that he hasn't actually heard of our mouths and just based on these stereotypes. So anyway, they would have thrown you off the roof in Gaza. So we should keep killing Gazan babies. That's what we got to do, guys. They would kill the queers. So let's keep killing their children. Fucking idiot. I'm not impressed by people like that. And I'm not going to waste my time. I told Arden, before you got here, Paul, that I'd written a song before the show. And the song goes thusly. I don't want to be here. 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 But I am here. And so if I'm going to be here, I'm not going to waste my time on pedantic people who are... Here's my assertion about Richard. I don't know Richard, but since he's allowed to make assertions, I'll do what he did. I'll add the word may. Richard strikes me as the kind of guy who may tell people in arguments what his IQ is or what he claims it to be. That's what I get out of Richard. Richard strikes me as somebody who may really find people like Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate compelling, equally compelling. Richard may have his head so far up his ass, he's given himself pink eye. Anyway, we can move on. None of the theists who said they would call in have called. We'd actually have a good call. And I believe Richard was an atheist. So proof that I've been super nice to the theists who have called so far. And if anything, I've been more mean to the atheists than the theists. So theists, I got a soft spot for you because you're who I actually want to talk to. Excuse me. I'm just going to make terrible mouth noises and slurping sounds. You want to pick up the next two?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna jump ahead to Christian, even though Christian is an atheist, which is confusing on the screen. Hello, Christian.
So, Jimmy, I had called in to you and Matt probably 4 weeks back right before all the Biden stuff really happened, to talk about the delusions and the hospitals I had with IM, but I've definitely been watching a lot of Line, and I would call myself an atheist now and feel pretty deconstructed.
Tight. So you were a theist when you called a month ago, and you're an atheist now?
I was a questioning theist, yeah. But I think you guys just treated me with, I don't know if you remember, but I was super nervous and was kind of not on the right bipolar meds, and it was just a mess. So, but I'm doing a lot better now.
Word. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Anyways, so I have a lot of friends from the church that I've, gone to for my whole life, and I'm turning 24 now, so, 23 years of life. And they're in places like Egypt and South Asia, and they still to this day will claim and text me and say, oh, we healed XYZ, I saw a bone regrow, we raised the dead. And I know they're not making any money off of it, like they're begging for money at church, so I don't fully understand the motivation. And then after you guys maybe break that down a bit, I wanted to ask if you knew about a specific faith healing pastor.
Sure. You want to go first, Paul?
So for me, Christian cut out there, so I wasn't able to hear most of that last sentence, so I was going to just let it go.
Basically, yeah. So the last sentence was that there's going to be a specific faith healer he wants to present and find out if we know about. But in the meantime, he wants to know what the motivations are of these people, since they're not making money off of claiming they've seen and done faith healings themselves. What's the motivation?
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, you probably heard me. Well, you weren't necessarily listening to the show earlier. For me, anytime any of these claims are going to be in the category of testimony, if they're telling you about it without anything else, it's much more likely that they are mistaken or that they are lying. Now, mistaken implies that they are sincere, right? So there is a category where they might sincerely believe that they are faith healing people. Now, I don't understand how you could be sincerely mistaken that bones regrew or that the dead were raised. But that said, there are, our memories can fail us. We can be fooled about things. Do they ever send you anything that isn't testimony?
So that's where we'll go next. So when I was in the church, we would go on mission trips just to a local city. So I live in Maryland, so we would go to inner city Baltimore. And my one friend who is the missionary in Egypt, he did this thing where he had a guy where he said he's going to pray for him. And what he did was, quote unquote, shorten the one leg, and then he prayed for it to grow back, and he said it's some miracle. And I was like, why are we shrinking people's legs to, like, what if they got stuck, for one? Like, if you really believe this.
So, Christian, leg growing is like the oldest faith healing scam ever. Which country where did you say he's a missionary?
He's in Egypt. They're with I don't know if I
Oh, God, that pyramid scheme. So. Anyway, Christian, thank you. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway,
you knew what I said. You Christian, just wanted to make that joke.
I was setting up myself for the punchline again, which is so weird. I was in the shower earlier when I thought something like that. Like, I want someone to set me up for, and it happened the first day. Anyway, there you go. Christian.
It's providential, right? Yeah.
The leg pulling thing is an old faith healer, not even just like faith healer scam, like witch doctor scam. You can Google it. There's plenty of stuff. It's easy how it works. The bone regrowing, the raising from the dead. What about the miracle made their cameras break?
Yeah, no, I mean, I sometimes will kind of point at that. I mean, they're really,
if they can do it, document it, prove it.
Yeah,
right. But to your question about what their motivation to lie is, and I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that they're lying. Sometimes there's even something between what Paul said and lying, and it's a sincere desire to lie on the basis of you're so sure it's true that you think it's fine to lie about how true it is. And I see this a lot amongst Mormons. I see it a lot amongst fundamentalist religion, because the funny thing about overly religious people who don't have good reasons to believe their extreme claims, it's that they love, as I do, a captive audience. I was mentioning to Paul before the show, I have this channel. I have my channel. I can debate any time of day I want to and get paid to do it. And yet I keep going in VR and debating for free because I enjoy a captive audience. And people we have social reasons for doing things. And Mormons and all sorts of religious people get social status over telling stories and building up each other's belief. And storytelling is the complete anchor. Our species has survived because it's done some version of gossiping and storytelling. If you've ever read Sapiens, there's a whole thing in the book Sapiens about how we literally expanded as a species and are able to be as sophisticated as we are now because at some point, thousands of years ago, we developed gossip. And so it's just social status, man. And when you don't have money, you still want to feel superior when you say they're poor anyway. And people in their communities and people in poverty will still try to do things to give themselves a sense of status and a sense of a type of riches, which the Bible and Christianity praise upon. How the poor people are rich in spirit. They'll inherit the kingdom of God. It's great to be a poor person. Just make sure that you make enough money to give us some of it.
Sounds like our capitalist overlords wrote that one.
But the number one reason I think you find people lie is because they wish they lived the life that they were lying about. That they are motivated to project the world they want to be living in because they are somehow, maybe that's not the number one reason. Maybe some psychiatrist is going to come in and be like, Jimmy's way far off. But I know it's one of the big ones. That they project the life they wish they were living and not the life that they are actually living. And so my final bit of advice before handing it back to Paul is for you to Google a song called Thank You God by Tim Minchin. Listen to it, absorb it, and enjoy it.
All right.
Christian, where I was going to go with this was that if these are indeed your friends, they may very much be trying to convert you. And I know that in my faith before, it was okay to exaggerate things to keep you out of hell, right? Like that was the lesser sin. And so if you needed to be more confident than you should be in a piece of data, or you name it, right? Like that's whatever you need to do to tackle the person before they end up sliding into hell. Now that's actually attributing a rather positive motive that they believe it and that they want to keep you from burning forever. But it is also a thing, right? So these are all possible considerations. So.
Yeah, I won't be too much longer. I'll say, like I said, I was the Christian forever. My name's Christian. I'm a white man named Christian. I'm like a lanternfly to these people. Sorry, not a lanternfly, a lantern to a moth. But so the specific guy I wanted to, I think you guys, especially Jimmy on your channel, I think you would get a kick out of this if you haven't already done it. But there is about 10 hours worth of video from a man named David Hogan called Faith to Raise the Dead.
Yeah, I've heard of David Hogan.
And
it's more of a Paul thing to do, though.
I've seen him in person, and it was freakish.
That's more Paul's area, and Paul's also better at it than me, so I'll leave it for if Paul wants it.
Well, that's all good. I didn't have too many questions. I just wanted to say, like, if you guys haven't seen that, I think you get some good content out of it.
Sounds good.
I knew a Mormon named David Hogan years ago. Different guy, though. Yeah, we'll see you.
Thanks, Christian.
All right, see you.
Different dude. At least I presume it'd be fucking crazy if it was him, but I'm pretty sure the faith healer David Hogan's much older. Yeah, that's not him. That would have been wild. Last call, unless a theist calls in. We're only leaving lines open for theists. Joshua in Florida, You're on the line with Paul and Jimmy. Hello.
Hello, Paul and Jimmy. So,
what's up?
I've been looking into something recently. It's basically a phenomenon that goes on when people take DMT, and they often see these, like, I think the best way I can describe them is like these entities, and they experience this, like, what they feel to be like the sense of a more real reality. And one thing I found peculiar about all of this is one specific entity inside that. I don't believe that it's actual entities, for the record, but I do find it a bit odd that there's this type of entity that's always consistent amongst, at least as far as I've researched about this subject matter, called machine elves, and regardless of the trip itself, it's always described as some beneficial entity. I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Machine elves? Is that what you said?
Yes. There's other names for it, but that's the most common name.
There being common strains and lots of things doesn't. I find humans to not be that unpredictable or different as we feel very much like we are.
Oh yeah.
But there's often common threads between people's experiences, especially people who have heard of other experiences, but even without that.
Right. So there's lots of examples. I have literally no experience at all with hallucinatory drugs at all, but it sure seems like to me, altering brain chemistry is not going to be evidence of anything. I don't know if you're just saying, "Hey, this is neat,"
I agree.
or if you So, do you think it's neat in the same way that a lot of people have dreams about falling?
I suppose so.
You do. You think that's this? You feel equally compelled
I find it fascinating
by those.
Looking
Okay.
By the same standard. Sorry, continue.
Oh no, I was letting you continue. I guess these are to me, these are just things that we. So our brain chemistry may have enough in common that when exposed to similar stimuli, brains will generate a similar thing. To me, is no more exciting than particular stimuli will generate the color purple, even though the color purple isn't specifically existing, right? But the same stimuli gives us basically
it tends to be
the same kind of quality.
With the eyes, yeah.
Right. So I guess I don't find it particularly interesting, and I guess do you feel like I should find it interesting?
Yes, because from these experiences that these people have, since it's so consistent with overall, even though these people have barely ever communicated with each other, it has some consistency with the stories all throughout, with barely any contact with each other, if at all. So, do I think if it's a god or not? I do not think it's a god at all. And even if it is some form of god out there, I don't think it's a god. I just think it's just some at best, if it is a life form of some kind, it's basically
but hold on.
giving.
Did I misunderstand you? Sorry, Joshua. Did I misunderstand you? I asked you if you put machine elves in the same category as the color purple and dreams about falling, and I thought you said that yes, you put those in the same category, and that category being similar stimuli gives people similar qualia.
Okay, I think I should clarify there. As far as I currently understand, it most likely is that stimuli. I'm just trying to weigh the possibilities on whether or not it's more than that.
What makes you think, other than I think you think maybe a machine elf is a more novel concept, maybe because you haven't, it's more fun to think about than the color purple or falling down? Is there something other than the novelty of it? Okay. And so that you're aware generally that at one point in time, alien abduction stories were all over the map?
Yeah. I'm aware of that.
But at some point in time, alien abduction stories coalesced around, the large gray-skinned one, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's because of Hollywood and like novelizations that really lean to that. I don't know the psychological phenomenon beyond a motivation there, but
you would agree that people who are going to subject themselves to, psychological drugs, to psychotropic drugs, tend to do so within a community of other people who partake as well.
I haven't really thought too far into that. That's on me, but I can definitely see that can be a large factor. But at the same time, not all of them are going to be talking all about machine elves to newcomers, right? Like, sometimes it's just going to be remote.
No, but you understand that when you come out of it, if you had an experience that was even within 100 miles of a machine elf thing, and you come out of it and someone says, hey, did you see the machine elves? You might give that name to the thing that you experienced, even if it wasn't exactly on par with the thing the others. Like, these are just uninteresting coalescence of similar stimuli creating the brain, giving similar qualia, and also the socializing factors of these communities that talk about. This
that's a fair point.
Like Mandela effect is a whole thing, right? And that's not even people taking psychotropic drugs. It's just, we come to share some mass delusions about certain things we would swear were true. And I'm not meaning to yuck your yum, Joshua. Like, I'm asking you to tell me why I should be excited about machine elves.
Well,
besides the cool name.
Yeah, it is a cool name. From the research I've done into it, besides the basically, for lack of a better term, I guess, like convergence, like akin to convergent evolution, meaning the same point, having the same experiences, even though they're remotely apart from each other. But that has its own problems.
But I gave you a whole list of convergent type things, and I'm asking you why machine elves is in a different. Sorry, I just want to make sure you're leading me to why machine elves are different than all these other convergences.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Sorry. Please proceed.
Yeah, you're fine. I think it's because of, like, there's still research going on about this because of the lack of research, or research that's been outright purged on basically drug trips from all sorts of different groups. I think it's a specific chemical, and people are theorizing, including those in the scientific community, as far as I currently can tell, that it may be some way of seeing it, like, basically a different reality in some capacity. I forget the actual, like, phenomenon inside the brain that does it, but
so you're positing at this point. So I care only about machine elves only if machine elves are veridical and a real thing. If it's merely a thing that happens in the brain, I'm not gonna. So that's a challenge that might be a problem with me and my psyche. I get that.
Yeah.
That might be a limitation of Paul. That's fine. But are you leading to a point where machine elves are a real thing and that we're doing multiverse jumping when we take drugs?
It's more so like a glimpse from what I've looked into it, like a little window, like a little guest visit. There's often this description
what
of
would
like
be the
a waiting
mechanism?
room.
What do you believe? So you're telling me that you believe in multiverses at this point, at least, or alternate dimensions at some point where. Okay, so
I'm agnostic to the idea. And I'm relying on evidence. I'm waiting for more evidence.
Okay, so but you're saying if enough research was done on machine elves, that machine elves could eventually lead us to discovering a multiverse?
More so DMT, and if these machine elves are real, then yes, it very much could. But that's a lot of ifs, and I want to wait for more research.
How many?
Okay.
How many Sorry, finish your thing. I shouldn't interrupt.
I was done. So, yeah.
How many explanations have you ever heard of for people's drug trips that have been confirmed to be the result of traversing a multiverse?
Very, none at all.
Right. None confirmed. How many drug trips have you heard confirmed to be occurring in the brain, and that when you have a drug trip, you can unlock some fucking wild shit in your brain because things are firing that don't usually fire. You're dreaming in areas of your brain you don't usually dream in. How many material explanations have you heard confirmed for the things that people have experienced while on a drug trip?
Several.
Yeah.
It's pretty sure it's reliant on all sorts of fields of psychology or psychological phenomenon. For example, different systems of social cohesion.
That's fine. I'm not actually asking for the
hallucination.
list. I'm not asking for the list, just the number. And so the number is several compared to 0. So as you're assessing, I'm looking for an explanation of what potentially is the answer. Do I have a justified reason to entertain a could-be proposition, which, by the way, is still a claim, and you haven't actually demonstrated the claim. In fact, you've acknowledged demonstration of the claim has never been done. Should I say that something could be amongst the explanations when so far that has never been correct, and materialistic explanations have always been correct, and there have been many, many of them? Which one is being an actual reasonable, as the caller prior brought up, reasonable, rational, logical thinker?
Materialistic.
Rational was the other one. Right. I think there's even something wild that many atheists haven't addressed. And I hear it all the time, and they get so mad at me. They think I'm just being pedantic when I bring up that they haven't actually done the work to justify the statement they've made. If you say the phrase, it could be the multiverse, you now have a burden of proof. Not to prove that the multiverse is a candidate explanation, or that not to prove that the multiverse exists, just that it is a candidate explanation. You have to prove that it could. Atheists often like to say, I've heard them say, I'm not saying a God isn't possible. Sure. Is a God possible? Yes. Is God possible? I don't know that that's true. Might be. But when have we demonstrated that God is possible? Not exists. When did we demonstrate God is possible? Because things that are possible are not simply everything which has been failed to be proven impossible. Just because we haven't yet proven something impossible, especially something like a non-falsifiable statement, does not leave it then open to being possible. The correct position is a type of agnosticism. I have no idea if God is possible. I have no idea if God is impossible. And it's crazy to claim either and take on that burden of proof when I am trying to be a good skeptic and cannot actually justify those statements with evidence.
Yeah, that's
so I would advise you, Joshua, to maybe drop the could language in the future. Just saying.
Say again?
I was saying I would advise you to drop the could language in the future, because your could that you gave earlier, wasn't justified.
Yeah, that's fair. That's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to call, because it's basically bouncing my ideas off of you, similar to how scientists go under peer review. Not the exact same process, but basically,
I get it. It's fine. You're probably familiar with Paul and I. You know that we articulate things in a way you find heavily digestible, and that the specific way we would phrase our opposition had the potential to get through to you in a way that other opposition you have interpreted so far hasn't yet. And I hope that we actually accomplished that, but I assume that was the motivation.
I want to consult your expertise, what your thoughts on it are, and I do have to agree with you. There isn't currently reasonable to believe that it, at least currently, as things are currently with the drug trips thing. I do agree with you that if evidence is lacking, I'm still going to withhold belief. I'm still going to wait and see if there's evidence for it, but I'm withholding belief.
It's okay for you to hope for things, Joshua. It's okay for you to hope that, that machine elves or machine monkeys or whatever they were. It's okay for you to hope, for you to wish that
I just find it really fascinating, frankly.
That eventually evidence will one day be found, but you reserve your judgment until such day that happens,
and try to prevent it from. Try to prevent it from encouraging your confirmation bias from being a little bit more active, for example. That's a hard part with hoping for things to be true that you don't have evidence of. Is it primes you for? I agree with Paul. That was a disagreement for the record. Just be aware that hoping for something to be true may prime you to let your confirmation bias get away with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that for sure.
But I hope when I die, a game over screen pops up and I take the headset off, right? But I don't believe it, and I don't allow myself to start going. Therefore,
it's a similar situation.
Don't know why I would have picked this game to play. Can we throw Trump in there?
Who the fuck would ever want to play this game of all things, where several people suffer and die and to witness the worst atrocities? And I'm just sitting here if that is the case, I'm just what motivated you to buy this bullshit to begin with?
I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna open up the machine, and they're gonna be like, "Well, if you remember, the objective of the game was to solve Israel-Gaza. You didn't do it.
That's right. You didn't.
Best of luck with that. That takes a long time to work through.
We set everything up. We gave you a platform. You got the platform, and then you started making content about what? Response videos to other YouTubers? I'm just kidding. That's my bread and butter. That's how I've present company too. I'm not going to shit on that.
But yeah, I see what you're
saying. Yeah, it's all good.
It's what pays for us to live.
Indeed.
But anyway, I'm not solving Israel Gaza by 10 reasons girl to find her dumb.
Yeah. But at the same time, you can actually exposing people to the information would have at least some small trickle effect that'll cause a larger effect too.
It's not. What if it's not even a side objective? I'm not getting points for shit.
Yeah,
I was supposed to become the Dragonborn. I don't even believe in Dragonborns.
In Jimmy's scenario, I actually hope that everyone else is an NPC. I would hope that that's the way that would work.
Because that would be a hell of a lot nicer, just knowing that it's just
absolutely,
you can just open a cheat menu and just type in "no more suffering for anyone whatsoever," and that's the end of it. No one suffers at that point.
Maybe there's 5 real people and everyone else is NPCs. Ironically, Jesus was one of the other real ones.
Nice.
He wasn't the savior, but they did all right, so what you got to do is we're going to put you here about 2,000 years before Jimmy and just convince those people to be nicer to each other. And he turns, he takes the headset off. They fucking crucified me. What the fuck?
Jesus, it's time to go back. I'm sending you the cheat codes.
That's what it is. I figured it out. Guys. Anyway, it'd be cool, but I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But you can hope for it.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Joshua.
Enjoy your night.
I'll see you, Josh.
All right. See ya.
Later.
Bye.
I hope it wasn't too distracting. I put up my we're getting close to the end. Send super chats. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Send soups. Sorry, force of habit. I wrote the wrong thing at first.
Yeah, you had a piece of paper on hand, but
Let's see. It looks like the answer is somewhere between 22 and 25 Christians tonight are theists are fucking liars. Not Christians necessarily. Because one or two of those could be shaven off. Because didn't we get a theist after the poll? Anyway, whatever. They didn't call. They said they'd call. They didn't call. They never call. No one ever calls. No one calls. $10 from Rebecca. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Everybody, Paul and I aren't on together very often, but more than that, Paul is a man of mystery. Send in your super chats with your questions. He might answer them. I don't know. We
or
alternating.
feelings about coffee tables. I can read
Hell
this one.
Yeah.
$10 from Monkey Typewriter. That cured the headache I've had for like the last month with religious people wouldn't be trans. Hey, honey, listen to me. Blah, blah, metaphysical substrate echoing in my brain. That was healing. Wow, I wish I knew to which comment that was referring to, Monkey of the Typewriter.
That's
but I'm glad you're feeling better.
Jackie.
Those are all comments Jackie has made on calls. Yeah. Also, I sent a screenshot. He sent a chat like an hour or more ago in the Discord. I sent it so you could enjoy it because it's really funny.
Let me have a look. See, did he pay for it?
Oh no. It got automatically silenced because he called you an asshole or something. So I just screen capped it.
Well, at least we finally got to something we don't disagree on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where is it? Jackie here. Instead of asking me loaded, irrelevant questions and being an asshole, how about you focus on the forest, not the trees, and actually be sophisticated? Oh, Jackie! Oh, say it's not so. I wasn't sophisticated enough for you. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Jackie. Next time, give me a heads up and I will prepare my script the day in advance as well. And we'll go that way. Never mind. It's not my style. I like to do real conversations off the cuff. Make your own fucking channel, Jackie. See if others find you as interesting as you do.
Every Christian I talk to ends up by the end of the day say, well, just look at the trees. They literally want me to look at the trees. So,
Yeah.
I also think it's ironic that the guy who insists on just citing philosophers and not answering direct questions is going to lodge that complaint.
No, I know. It was dripping in irony. I can smell it. It was so ironic.
Did we read this one?
Mike B says,
nope.
Yeah, sorry. I was being distracted. I'm a bad host. Oh, Jimmy, been working on that novel. Oh, he wants me to say, Jimmy, been working on that novel. How's that novel coming? Been talking about that for years. Good beginning, middle, and end. Some characters become enemies, some enemies become friends. Nah, I'm sure it's going to be great. Anyway, working on that novel. Just go fuck yourself, Jimmy. It was an old Family Guy scene. That was a reference. This one's
$5 from Stomp 10. How do you react when conservatives ask, how can you affirm trans people but not affirm God? Great show, by the way. Well, I mean, first of all, you would need to. To me, that's actually just a whole category error, right? Because does God exist? Is a whole different category of truth statement to do trans people exist? Because whether or not you want to affirm them in any way, people who identify as trans exist, undeniably so. And so if you swap that out to, how do you affirm people who eat ice cream? Well, I mean, maybe I think they're dumb. Maybe I don't like them, but at least that's just something I can demonstrate exists. So to me, I don't know. For me, this is just entirely category error. I don't know if you disagree, Jimmy.
No, present me the God to assess and consider affirming, and I will see if his arguments for his identity add up as well as trans people's do.
Right, like I don't see how these two questions are in any way connected. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I almost wonder if there's like a level of question of like doing it on their terms, like trying to convince them within the framework of their religious belief to also affirm trans people. And I never do that because I wouldn't do that. Their religious belief probably is trans unaffirming.
There's also a hot debate right now in Christianity is, can you be gender affirming while still being a huge bigot against them, right? Like, can you put on, is it a sin to put on the facade of being affirming, which is, someone can't tell if I'm being affirming or putting on a facade of affirming if I'm good enough at it. So again, like it's not even, you can totally believe in God and still be affirming even if you don't mean it. Like, so I don't know. These are, I don't understand.
I
that
hate
thing.
the sin, not the sinner. Whoa.
Right.
Biker Nurse Ratchet says, "Hey, Paulogia, I heard somewhere that you were outed as an atheist to your family. How did you deal with that? And what's your advice for repairing family ties? I'm bracing myself for being outed. I was also outed by my brother."
So correct. Yes, I was very much outed against my will, and I was not ready in any way, and I handled it incredibly poorly. I went into weird debate mode and fight mode, and that was not good. So I would, well, first of all, I mean, I think I wish that I had taken steps to out myself, I guess. So, you know, there's always, but that's, you know, once the deed's done, the deed is done. Then I think at that point, it's the same advice you would give anyone. But you're doing some damage control. I guess the advice I wish I would give myself was, don't fight about it. Like, calm down, take some time. You know, all the things. Yeah, I wasn't obligated to justify myself. I should have been. Yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's hard to say though. I mean, I hear you, but right now you're satisfied, it seems like, with the outcome overall. So whatever happened back then, the outcome was fine. Keep in mind, I also didn't handle it in what maybe you would say would be a good way, but I've had several siblings since then, all who have. And the outcomes are virtually the same, of those of us who are more abrasive and resistant and those of us who did it the right way. Because it seems to me that it's actually the quality of the family and the love they have for you, and if they even know how to love, that has a higher chance of being the things that perseveres. And in my case, my family doesn't know how to love. My parents certainly don't. And so the kids who came out very peacefully and tried to have a relationship with them don't have much more of a relationship than I do with them, despite the fact that I was the one willing to just straight up say, you know, we're arguing about something and it's like, it's crazy how you will continue to defend your religion when it is so false. Like, just trying to go straight for, because that's like the worst thing you can say to a Mormon, is literally calling the religion false. That's for them to do about every other religion. So yeah, it's the outcome may have nothing to do with how you react. To a point, if you murder people, that's going to change your outcomes. But
Right.
it's hard to say. It's hard to. I'm not saying necessarily that doesn't make still a person an asshole for being an asshole in the moment. But it is hard to.
But if you have an opportunity to control the narrative,
thing.
If you have an opportunity to control the narrative, I would say that's the better way to go.
Probably so. But I'm more jealous of your outcome than mine. Yeah.
My family's pretty great. $10 from Metallic Almonds. Jimmy, split peas, chicken noodle, or broccoli cheddar, since you asked for soups.
I can't eat any of those right now. Literally, those are all off limits at the moment.
Oh no.
Oh, and soups for, I see what I did.
He's playing a play on the words, the homonyms as they were.
That's not how you spell soups. Meh. On to the next. Chicken noodle would have been my favorite of the three, though, when I could eat any of them. Jimmy, since you asked so nicely, have this on me. Well, thank you, Bryn. I appreciate that very much. Raven Loon. Oh, this one's yours.
Australian $10 from Raven Lunatic. Very, very nice. I like it. Raven Lunatic. Very good. Jimmy, bad Egyptian jokes make my sphinxter tighten. But the joke you told was good. Pharaoh. That's pretty good. That's a lot of puns all around.
Hell yeah. It is so weird that was earlier today. I was like, I just need someone to bring up Egypt so I can call it a pyramid scheme. I'm sure that's a joke somebody's thought of before. It doesn't seem like the kind of joke.
Right.
No, of course. But I just grew attached to it. Aliashana Silverbow says, biblical nudes, your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that feed among the lilies. Song of Songs 4-5. I think it was Song of Psalms is what was meant to be.
A lot of modern Bibles call it Song of Songs. For whatever reason. Yeah.
Interesting.
$10 from Mike B. Y'all don't know how many times I wished I could up, down, left, right, left. be any select start my way to Jesus. I agree. I was thinking again today how, there's certain versions of Christianity where I could find different aspects of my life that would be improved if that version of Christianity was true. But that's not the way it goes.
Godfrey N. Good says, Aloha! Seems that the Gospel of Matthew indicates that Jesus was born in 4 BCE, but Luke says he was born in 6 CE. Is this right? Is this a good argument against biblical inerrancy? Mahalo.
So I have a video on my channel with Dr. Josh Bowen and also one with Dr. Bart Ehrman on the discrepancy between these birth narratives. I'm going to admit that at the moment, I don't remember which was which. But you can check when was Jesus born, Paulogia, and because there's Quirinius, Luke, one of them ties it to Quirinius when Quirinius was governor, one of them ties it to the death of Herod, and those are dates we know from secular historical sources that were just listing things and had no theological reason to be incorrect. So absolutely, depending on your definition of inerrancy now, some people's versions of inerrancy are fluid and flexible enough to allow for such clerical errors because they would say that the Bible wasn't intending to teach us about dates. That the Bible is inerrant in all that it intends to teach us. And so if you can have some of those kind of escape clauses, almost anything
convenient.
Works. Yeah.
Which one do you love more, Dr. Josh Bowen or Bart Ehrman? Is it Dr. Bart Ehrman? Dr.
Well, Dr. Bart Ehrman, yeah. So, I mean, how do you not love Josh Bowen? Really? I mean, if it comes down to, I think I have more to learn from Dr. Bart Ehrman because my interests are more in the New Testament realm. So I value that kind of quasi mentorship there. But I mean, man, in terms of hanging out and having cute bow ties,
I love that Josh Bowen. And in fairness, Bart hangs out with that Megan Bowen, and I love that Megan Bowen.
That's true.
So just a whole cornucopia of wonderful Bowens. Is that it? Are there no more super chats?
That's it.
Okay, hang on. Let's not go yet. People, I really did not want to be here. So please send more super chats to make tonight worth having been here. And it's not because I don't love all of you. I feel like shit. So, it won't, I'll still feel like shit after, but I'm going to give you a minute if you want the show to end now, it's fine. But send more super chats. And somebody's going to say, oh my God, that's so gross. Jimmy's using the fact that he's sick to ask for money. Yeah, people say that. So anyway, go ahead. Send that money. Send that money. I like them Bowens. I'm gonna message them, see if they're watching. Where's that money? All right, I guess we're ending. Well, I'll give it another second. They're probably writing them out.
There's always that delay between when you say things.
Don't give in to him. Oh, come on. Those are $5. We only do $10 and higher super chats, so actually you just wasted those $5. And those don't count.
Kai Seal says, yeah, I got you, Jumbo. And Shop Boy says, go ahead and put them up. We'll put them up.
Hold on.
I just got trash shamed by my neighbor. I just got trash shamed by my neighbor. He was like, bro, do you smell the death smell outside? I'm like, sorry, that's my trash can. I put it out early because it smelled too close to my house. Anyway, yeah, I got you, Jumbo. And then the next one was from Shop Boy. Thank you, Shop Boy. Throw that up there. Man, this works. I'm gonna make people pity me more. Woolite Mammoth says, fine, you convinced me. Thank you, Woolite. I appreciate you. Hey, is that jumping happening with everybody with the graphic behind where it just suddenly goes bloop? I think this might not be a perfectly looped graphic. We might need to fix that. I don't know if you've noticed it, Arden, but it's like I keep catching it out of the corner of my eye. Or am I just getting bad frame rates occasionally?
I haven't noticed on this one, but I'm not looking for it, so I'll
that wasn't worth it.
$10 from Monkey at Typewriter. Did you know that every year thousands of people are injured and killed by tripping over furniture? Number one offender, coffee tables. Exactly. Well, I mean, I didn't know that, but I'll just put that in my arsenal of anti-coffee table arguments, I suppose.
Raven Luna says money for coffee table for Shannon Q. That the day she finally gets a coffee table, which I assume means Paul will have died, it's gonna be that fund is gonna be well funded.
Yeah, Donald Trump's former coffee table of gold, some kind.
Mm-hmm.
$10 from Will Be Friend. Will Be Friend is very friendly. Can Paul give us a good story from his work in the film industry? Let's see. So one day, when I started working at the movie company I worked for, we were pulled aside on the first day and we were given a lot of instructions. One of which was never say no to the boss, which is just a literal thing. They said, "Oh yeah, you're never ever 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 allowed to say no. You're allowed to say maybe, and then come back later and explain, but you never say no." Anyway, that doesn't matter. One of the things is, other thing is, if you're here to see celebrities, you're in the wrong job. If you see celebrities, you don't look at them, you don't treat them different. You do all this stuff. Flash forward a couple, maybe a year. It's about 2000 at this point, and people are buzzing. They're like, George is given a homeless person a tour of the ranch for some reason, and this is very out of character for George, even though he's an incredibly charitable person. He doesn't typically like interacting with the public, and so for him to be giving a homeless person a tour was a big deal, and people were buzzing, and they were walking around, and he's coming, but we're not supposed to look up what's happening, and I look around and I say to everyone, "That's Peter Jackson." It wasn't a homeless person at all. It was director of Lord of the Rings, which hadn't come out yet, but I knew it was Peter Jackson.
Well, had you been to Peter Jackson's home?
I had not. No, so but
then how do you know Peter Jackson was in fact homed?
This was many years before COVID, but he definitely looked like he was dressed to work from home. Yeah, so I don't know. There's that. That was a story. I don't know.
Saying.
Was that a good enough story for the super chat amount? I don't know.
I liked it. I thought it was a good story.
All right,
but I need to be convinced that he wasn't homeless at the time. Perhaps by choice. Who knows?
Well, so maybe we were all right. Maybe they were right that he was homeless and that he was Peter Jackson. Sure. I maybe shouldn't have poo-pooed them. You're right.
Aaron says from Canada says, as someone with long COVID, here's a pity chat. I don't think long COVID is a part of what I've been going through, but it'd be wild if it was.
$5 from Metallic Almond. I can't eat any of the soups I listed either. Sorry you can't, and I made you think of them. I hope you both have a good night and the rest of the week. Yeah, it's always fun when people remind you of things you can't have. That's always great.
There are less than 15 items that make up my entire diet at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to start a reintroduction phase in another month or so. But literally yesterday there was 17 or so, and we had to cut 2 of them off because we were still trying to figure out what was setting things off. So I've lost 2 things of my already super restrictive diet that sucks a lot. Anyway, $10 from Alishana Silverbow. 2 drums and a cymbal fall off a cliff. But wait, don't I have that? Is that one of these? Oh, that's a sound effect. No, I guess I don't. I have record scratch. That does anything
I have
for
this. You. Is this anything? Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it goes. Because at first I won't tell you what it looked like. Hey, is this doing anything for anybody? What is this? Is this doing it?
Yeah, well, it was that was as intended. I didn't realize the hearts were going to happen. I was talking about something.
Somebody needs to send a super chat for what just happened, I think. Anyway, I think this one's you.
Is this me? $10 from
I think so.
Kaisedi. If you have ever heard of the show Evil, I was wondering if media like that involving religious ambiguity is good for the secular culture. It's a great show.
Never heard of it.
I haven't, but there are shows like The Good Place, for example, that I feel like were positive in terms of people having conversations that, and you are allowed in the conversation to not assume an existing religion, and I felt like that had a good place. I don't know.
Lucifer, I think, is also good.
Lucifer is also good. There was good.
Yeah.
Is it Good Omens? Good Omens with
Good
David
Omens,
Tennant. Yeah. So I feel like there's categories of shows that are positive that way.
I think we missed one from Biker Nurse Ratchet from above. I can just read it out though. It says, Jimmy, take off the headphones and show us your gorgeous hair. It would be my pleasure. I am pretty happy with it recently. So should I? Wait, we can do a little side thing here too. I can't hear if you're saying anything. I hope you're not. I hope you're not. All right, that's all you get.
That needed a flip.
What's that?
You needed a flip on that camera transition.
It would hurt my neck
Hair
so
flip.
much. Yeah,
Yep.
You're right. Darren McAuliffe says, how sick is Jimmy? How big a donation to have him die on camera of natural causes?
I think that's more of a
I
roulette
don't
situation.
want to die. Yeah. Yeah.
That's more of a you need to send in like 50 individual $10 super chats to increase your chance, as opposed to one $500 one.
Hell yeah. Go ahead.
$20
This
from
one's
Nikki
yours.
D. Do you have any ideas on how I respond to love the sinner, hate the sin? Thanks. I mean, I guess that depends on your goal in the conversation. I don't know. Jimmy, what do you got?
First, I would like them to prove I should give a shit what they think a sin is, and then I'd like to address the fact that some of the things they're calling sin are core identity traits. My queerness is not an action that I can just choose. I'm a fucking queer deep down, and it's part of me. So you're saying basically the thing you hate is an aspect of me, and it's an aspect of me you can't justify as worthy of your hate or calling a sin.
But I struggle with this because I feel like if the intent is treat people with basic decency no matter how much I disagree with them, that is, I could get on board with that, which is in some circles the practical outcome of that sentiment, right?
I suppose I don't decide. I don't treat people with my problem is that a lot of people, religion teaches you that shitty things are decency, that bad actions are good actions. There's a lot of
gotcha.
Yeah,
right. You'd have to come to agreement on what a good action was, because they're saying, no, me bullying you into heaven right now is actually the best outcome for you. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like when people are being extremely rude in that they're like misrepresenting you, strawmanning you, interrupting you. But then when you raise your voice, you've raised your voice. I haven't been rude this whole time, but you're being very rude because you raised your voice. It's literally like, we just have different definitions of these things. And frankly, I think I can defend how rude you were much more than you can defend the rudeness of me. But at the end of the day, I think I'd probably just inverse it and I'd be like, well, I think you're a bitch, but I actually love that about you. I hate you, not your sin. No.
Right. Hate the sinner, love the sin.
I hate the sinner. Yeah, that's right.
$10 from Raven Lunatic. Since Paul said Jimmy looks like Chris Evans, I'd really like to hear Jimmy say, atheists assemble. And can Paul do the hearts thing again? I think I can do it without the weird jerky motions. We'll see. Maybe not. It's always this weird thing.
I think you have to point it more at the camera.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. That's right. Hang on. I'll do it yeah. I'm technically doing what you requested.
Atheists, assemble. The voice changer is on, right? It sounds high-pitched, or did it not work?
It's the same as the whole time. No, I'm kidding. It was Chipmunk. You did Chipmunk. I was fucking with you.
I feel like saying it unironically would have been too cringy for me.
Yeah.
And it would have at some point been used against me, I feel. Atheists, frankly, if you could get all the atheists together, you get them all in a nice, beautiful little room. You get them in a nice room, and then you get them assembled. When the atheists assemble, it's a beautiful thing. They say it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
The trouble when you assemble atheists is you always have parts left over.
It's true. I also, if I am in a room with 20 atheists, I'll probably like 2 of them.
Right.
Yeah. That's about the stats as they add up. Poor Claire says, this money is for Jimmy and Arden, not Paul or Shannon. If you really want a coffee table, you know how to get it. I don't know what that means.
Presume go to the store and buy one, I assume. If you want.
I'll build one. Yeah. This one's
$10 from SJL. How much of a donation to get Paul to never wear black shirts again? Just the theoretical, don't really want that. Yeah, that would be, first of all, it wouldn't be a donation here because I wouldn't even want to share that. I don't know. It would.
Right.
Black shirts are part of my core identity that Jimmy was talking about, so it'd be a lot.
It's kind of, I didn't realize I was stealing that from you, but I've recently pretty much made my summer attire has been probably since like March, just shorts and a black t-shirt every day. I like the not thinking about it.
So around 2001, I actually got a couple times to meet Steve Jobs, and I just became incredibly fascinated with all that. And Steve just had one shirt that he wore all the time, and I just hated clothes variants and decided, well, my favorite thing to wear is black shirts anyway, so let me stop ever having decisions. Except now, now I have different black shirts. Literally, I have different black shirts that make me feel a different kind of way than other black shirts, even though no one else can discernibly tell the difference. So,
notice, I with the things I wear in general, I like a consistency of sensation. So I like the way this feels on my skin, and I'm used to it. And I buy literally the exact same type of shirt every time. I probably got 15 of this exact brand size t-shirt, and then it's my shirts and my shoes. I'm very they finally discontinued the type of shoe I had worn for like 10 years, and so I've switched now to one that I hope they don't discontinue again. But this one has several colors, but otherwise it's the exact same shoe.
I'm with you. I've literally like 15 years. Every 2 years I buy another pair of that same shoe. So yeah. I'm not neurodivergent though. I'm fine.
I got receipts. I'll give you one. You may as well just. It doesn't get you anything. It should though. I feel there should be a neurodivergent discount at movie theaters. Paul, what do you want to tell people about?
I want to tell people that I have my next 5 videos or so are going to be all kinds of Bible scholars who I don't normally get a chance to talk to, but they're having a conference and they want me to help promote it. So I'm very excited about the academic turn that my channel will be taking for the next month, as opposed to with all the normal shenanigans with young earthers that I sometimes do. So, I don't know. Is that a thing? Maybe that's a thing. Come to my channel. I make cartoons about serious scholarly topics. I ask people to take me seriously, which is weird.
It's awesome. I've said it many times. Paul does the best counter apologetics on the platform. That's the show. Bye.
Bye.
Run the thing. There you go. These are patron producers. They are the top tier on the Line's Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/calltheline. New episodes of the Live on the Line podcast, which feature myself as the host and other atheist content creators and the like, are coming out very, very soon. Okay, we're at the end of the list. Bye.